I'm Diane Hutchings, for those of you that don't know that. And my background, I got pretty enthused, well, very enthused about photography about 5 years ago. I was just retiring from being a nurse, and it just kind of, I hadn't really thought of it. I mean, I always liked taking pictures on trips and stuff, but I didn't really know anything. And so anyway, I decided to join the photo club, and it's been one of the best decisions I've made. There's so many talented people and generous with their knowledge, and it's just, you know, I joined the board, and it's just kind of, it's kind of become my new family. So it's been a really nice thing. So, so anyway, I you know, I bought a real camera, I say, and got pretty enthused, and, you know, not just in taking pictures, and I didn't even realize there was all the post-processing things and all the soft, you know, Lightroom and, you know, all that. It was brand new to me. So I've had a pretty steep learning curve, and I've tried to kind of learn a lot of different things, including I really learned how to print and mat, and that was fun. And then the software side of it, and just, and then just seeing the other people in the club, just their different, you know, areas that they excel in, and there's just, and having assignments to try new things, all those things have been really good. Anyway, I really like landscape photography, one of a billion of us out there. And I like to travel and like to hike, so it's kind of a natural thing for me. And I guess as I learn, I'm trying to create images that are more unusual, something that has a different perspective, and that's kind of the challenge. And anyway, and I love trees, and so I decided to focus this presentation on trees. Some of my favorites, they're not all award-winning by any means, but they just have some kind of special meaning to me. So anyway, I guess we can go ahead and start that. I'll talk about I have about 16 or 17 images.
Okay, it should be up now, and I'm hoping that you might tell us a little bit about the photos as we go through.
I absolutely
and maybe
will.
and certainly if people have any questions about a technique or anything like that, you can either put a comment in the chat, or I hope it's okay with you, Diane, if they just open up their microphone. And
absolutely, absolutely. I want to keep this informal and fun. So this photograph was taken at the Dry Falls Sun Lakes State Park in March. And my husband and I, COVID, you know, the lockdown and all that had started. We were hanging out at a cabin that we have over near Lake Wenatchee, and we, you know, we weren't seeing anybody or doing much of anything except hanging around. And then we decided to take this little side trip. And if you guys have not been to Dry Falls before, it's off of Highway 2. It's really worth the trip. This doesn't really show the Dry Falls side of it. That's a whole different thing. But we were in the state park, and I looked up, and, you know, it was a pretty bright day, and I just saw these trees, and they were just glistening, and I love the simplicity. So I was shooting up from them. I was on this hill, and I just thought, wow, that just looks so cool. And it was, it almost looks like there's snow on the trees, but, you know, I converted to black and white, and that's just kind of how it came out. It was kind of a fun accident, but a lot of people think it's either infrared or snow there, but it's just, you know, nothing really special I did other than convert it to black and white and play with the tone a little bit. But anyway, you know, I named these Together Alone because it just seems so fitting. So here, my husband and I were together. We didn't see anybody. I mean, you know, the roads were, you know, I mean, I suppose we weren't even supposed to be on the roads, but we broke that rule because we figured it was safe. But, you know, so here we are together, but alone in this world. And so I just thought, you know, that seemed like a fitting name for it. So anyway, that's how I came up with that. So this photo was taken near our cabin. It's in the Lake Wenatchee area, and this is up on a ridge called Intiat, and it's called Sugarloaf. There's actually a fire watchtower up there, and it's about at 6,000 feet. And it was, I think it was about May when I took this, and we had to actually hike through some snow to get up to the lookout. And I just saw, I love tree, you know, the barrenness of trees. I just think, you know, there's so much interest there. And then with a nice stormy clouds in the background, it really appealed to me. So, and actually I took this with an iPhone 11. I didn't want to haul all my equipment up there, and I wasn't sure I'd see anything. I mean, the view is great, but that's what so it just goes to show you can take some kind of fun photos with iPhones, as we all know.
And this one was also converted to black and white?
Yes, I converted to black and white. I didn't do very much with it, just played with the tonal adjustments a little bit to kind of bring out some of the contrast. And, you know, so it's, yeah, it turned out pretty well. So anyway, I was happy with that. So.
And what kind of tool do you use? Is it Photoshop or something
Oh,
else?
yeah. So I use Lightroom and Photoshop. And that's kind of what I start off with. And I know Lightroom, it has a lot of the same features that this may not mean anything to some of you, but it's a raw processor, and there's many different software programs out there, but I just kind of started with Lightroom, and I do about 95% of my editing in Lightroom, and then I'll move into Photoshop for some additional things, like often at times it's removing something like a sign that I don't want in there, or just tweaking it a little bit, and I'm learning more about it, but I don't really use any of the, you know, presets or the, you know, special or the additional software programs that are out there, like a lot of people in the club do, but I've kept it pretty simple. So anyway, and I shoot with a Nikon full-size DSLR for the most part. A few of these shots were taken with other cameras like that one, but for the most part, that's what I've done. So this was actually taken in Yellowstone. It was many years ago, and this was a trip that got me really enthused about photography. It was about -20 out, and they have a way that you can get into the park in the wintertime, and so my brother-in-law kind of talked me and my husband into going, and he'd done some photography, but anyway, he signed us up. There were a lot of things you could do, and he signed us up for this photo shoot kind of thing. And this woman took us around in this snowcat. And I mean, I had a point and shoot camera, and I didn't know much about it, but there were some people on the group that just obviously, you know, knew so much. They had these long lenses, and, you know, they didn't need any help taking pictures. They just needed access. And anyway, I just kind of thought, this is really interesting. And it got me all enthused, and so that's kind of the turning point. But anyway, this is just a stand of trees that, you know, it was early morning, and I just thought the simplicity and the shadows, and just, but it was pretty cold. But anyway, that's the background on that one. And I would say the next photo is going to explain this, but these are called bobby sock trees, and these are lodgepole pines that are dead, and there's this huge stand of them. It's near the Old Faithful area where there's all the geothermal activity. And the next slide, if you go to that one, this is, you can see the white bands at the bottom of the tree. And this is very close to that same image. And so these trees, they soak up the minerals from the thermal activity. And then as the water evaporates, it kind of embeds itself, and it does kill the trees, and it creates this white banding. So that's why they call them bobby sock trees. So, but this was taken in the springtime when the snow had melted, obviously. Okay, you probably are getting the idea that I like dead trees here. I just find them really interesting. This was taken in Jackson Hole area. And I was out cross-country skiing with a couple of friends, and anyway, the light was just so amazing, and I actually said, "Oh, you guys go on ahead," and I had my camera, and I just started taking pictures of all the different aspens and the light, and this one I particularly liked. I liked the kind of orangish bark in contrast, and this is one of my, I don't know what this kind of light's called, but it's one of my favorites, where you have dark clouds in the background, and then the sun peeks through it times, and it just creates a really dramatic mood that I really like.
Yeah, there are hardly any shadows in this picture.
Yeah, it was pretty soft light, but you know, just enough light to come through and kind of bring out the highlights of the yellow. So this was taken this September. My husband and I went out to Claylock, to the state park there. yeah, it'd been so long since I'd been there, so I thought that would be fun, a good getaway. It was really hard to find a camping site though, because of COVID. Everybody had the same idea. So we had a campsite, but it was right on the road, and it was a long night of trucks going by, and I was just thinking, oh. But then I got up in the morning and I looked. This is across the road, the opposite from the beach, and I saw this light, and I just thought, well, here's a nice gift. I just thought it was really, I just loved the light coming through the trees like that. So I just snapped it off, and it's a good lesson in keeping an open mind.
Kind of apropos for our times.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you certainly get the awareness that is a very deep forest.
Yeah. All right. This photograph was taken. My sister lives in one of my sisters lives north of Spokane on this lake called Eucalyptus Lake. And I was visiting, and it was obviously winter, and it was one of those crisp mornings where it was a fresh snow, and I went all over and took pictures, but I really was drawn to these two cottonwoods. And I just liked how a little bit of blue in the sky and just the silhouette of the tree. And then I also liked the dock there, kind of just kind of a reminder of bygone days of summer and a different climate, so a different time of year. So anyway, I just thought it was a pretty shot.
Yeah, it looks like you can see that there's a combination of the snow on the water and the dock, and then a cloud bank there.
Yeah, it was just sitting really low on the, sank down, so it was kind of a foggy look as well. So yeah,
it's gorgeous.
This tree was taken a few years ago on Maui. We were in Lahaina, and it was a hot day. Anyway, it was near the marina, and I was standing under this tree just looking at things, just to kind of get out of the sun. And I looked up and I just thought, wow, that's pretty cool. So, I took this shot, and I didn't really know if it would turn into anything, but I got back and thought, wow, I like this. But I didn't know what kind of tree it was. And I should say that as much as I like trees, there's a lot of times I take pictures of trees and I have no idea what they are. So if anybody can help me out with some of these, it'd be appreciated. Anyway, I was trying to search and figure out what it was, but I couldn't identify it. And then we were back the next year, and I wanted to find out what it was. And there was this guy, kind of a local, just sitting there. And I thought, well, he probably won't know, but I'll ask him. And lo and behold, he did know. And it's a kiawe, Kiawe, I think. And apparently they're all over the island, but they're not, they're invasive, and they've got thorns on them, and they, even I think they're quite beautiful, but they, when the limbs fall off, they're kind of a hazard. If you're walking on the beach or something, you can step on them. And I was looking this up later, and they actually have killing parties that's what they call them, to get rid of these invasive trees, on the island. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But anyway, I really like this photo. So I'm hoping they don't get rid of all of them. This is another shot that I took on Maui. If any of you have been to the road to Hana, you've probably heard of that. It's a spectacular all-day excursion where you go through really thick, jungly, tropical areas, and then on the other side, when you get, it's more deserty. But this is just beginning, and these are called, the common name is rainbow eucalyptus or rainbow gum trees. And they really are, I don't know if you can see the colors here, but they really are as vibrant as they are here. It's just the shiny bark. They shed their bark in this summertime, and then leaves these beautiful colors. And apparently there's lots of different eucalyptus trees, and this is the only one that's indigenous to North America, if you can believe what I read. So I thought that was interesting, but you don't see them as a grove very often. And it's funny, I later was just doing a search of trees, and I came across this photo. It's like a stock photo, and it was like kind of the exact was like, that could be my photo. So obviously a lot of people were attracted to this scene. So. And this tree was, you can probably tell this is the Grand Canyon. My husband and I took a trip there last spring, and it was just wonderful. And, you know, I had a polarizer on, and I mean, it looks so oversaturated, but it really looked like this with the polarizer. I mean, the colors, and the complementary colors just draw you in, you know, the orangey red with the green, and then the blue sky. And I just, you know, I couldn't stop taking pictures, but this one I particularly like because I'm really in love with these trees. These, they're just, they're old, and, you know, they're just, I don't know, they just have so much character. So these are, I'm blanking out on what they're called. I wrote it down. I mean, they're really common. My brain just went though.
Well, I will say that when you
junipers.
Junipers.
Yeah.
When I first had occasion to go into the Painted Desert or get near the Grand Canyon, the colors there they seem like they're from an alien world. So
Yeah.
powerful.
So anyway, juniper is the very common word. There's lots of different kinds, and I was looking them up, and I think this is probably a Utah juniper, but I wouldn't pretend to know that for sure. Anyway, they're really slow growing because of the harsh climate, and many of them get to be thousands of years old, you know. So I don't know about this particular one, but anyway, I just think they're gorgeous. So that's one of my favorite photos. And here's another juniper. This was taken near Flagstaff at a place called Walnut Creek National Monument, I think. And it's just these cliffs where they're actually ancient dwellings, but they have these trails all around. And I was just struck by this tree, you know, and I called it hanging on, or holding on, I think I called this, just because it's just barely hanging on by a thread, and just the tenacity of, you know, life, I guess. I kind of like that. So anyway, that's why I included that one. And this is another one. My other sister lives in Bend, Oregon, and which is just a really beautiful place. And just east of Bend, there's the high desert area, and there's just so many trails. And this was taken on a trail. It's a flat iron trail system, and it's you know, it's maybe 15 miles out of town. And I mean, we went there multiple times. I've been there multiple times. It's just, I take so many pictures, but I thought this was really striking, the way the sun was, you know, setting, and I was standing just so it was blocked enough that you could see the, you know, the highlights on the tree, you know, that it created as a, and anyway, I just thought that was really pretty. So.
Yes, like the Kiowa or whatever you said, the invasive species.
Yeah,
from Maui.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've got a tree here that the trunk is really interesting.
Yeah, it's just, it's fun. My sister also really enjoys photography. She has an iPhone, which she takes all her pictures with, and she's an artist. So we are well matched. We took a trip recently to Eastern Oregon and spent 2 weeks just traveling all over and camping, and got to some pretty remote places. And she's a perfect travel partner because she likes to photograph as much as I do. All right, this was taken on the Spruce Rail Trail, which is in the Olympic National Park, just on the far side of Lake Crescent. And, you know, anybody that's spent any time in, you know, the forests around here with the huge trees and the, you know, it's just, you can't help but be moved by it. And so many times I think, oh, this is just amazing. And I try to capture it in a photograph, whether it's, you know, redwoods down in California, or, you know, wherever it is with these trees. And it's just, I've never been able to do them justice, but I did feel like I should include one. And I really like the moss, the light coming through and hitting the moss on these maples. And anyway, and then I kind of like the bridge as a leading lines and kind of added a human element to it. So anyway, that was my attempt capturing that feeling. And this was taken just, a couple weeks ago at Blakely Harbor. And I love Blakely Harbor. I find that if I'm ever just have a little time, I wander down there with my camera, you know, not every week, but sometimes. And I just thought I'd go down there, and I knew that these, you know, the foliage is really pretty this time of year. And this is in the Back Bay area. I imagine most of you have been there, but if you haven't, it's just a really stunning area. And with the water still, the reflection was really nice. It just captured the feeling of autumn, I thought. So.
Yeah, and it's nice there that they have the bridge at Blakely
That's
Harbor, so you can.
It's a great addition. Yeah, that's been really nice. And this was taken last fall. This is near our cabin, near the Lake Wenatchee area. And this is just off of Highway 2, and just a grove of aspens that I thought was nice. And this one was taken at Blodell, and I assume there's some sort of birch tree, but I don't actually know. But I was drawn to the reflection in the pond. And it's one thing I have to, you know, when I first started off with photography, I didn't see those things. You know, I'd take a picture and I'd look and go, oh, wow, there's the reflections were really, you know, impressive. But that's one of the great things about getting interested in photography, is it's helped me to just look at the world in a different way, and to see things that I was missing, and including really up close things, macro things. I just, you know, just to look at little tiny ferns, or, you know, just it's an amazing world if you know, open your eyes to it. So anyway.
So in this case, you might have not noticed that interplay or the refraction with the
right. I believe I did when I took this shot, but what I'm saying is when I first started, I would miss that stuff, you know. I would just see the trees, and anyway, so it's just one of the benefits of, you know, studying it and learning more. And this is the last image I have. This was taken on Maui, and these are either Captain Cook pines or Norfolk pines. They're very similar, and you find both of them. But anyway, I was trying to find a spot to take a shot at the sunset. And I was particularly interested in finding one of the monkey pod trees, which they've got this huge wide canopy. And I kept trying to find one of those just kind of isolated to take against, but I couldn't get the right vantage point. And then finally I found this spot, and I thought, well, this will work. So I set it up on my tripod, and just, I wanted to have the silhouette feeling to it. So that's why I left the foreground, you know, fully in shadow. I wanted the eye to be drawn just to the, you know, the light coming through the trees and the colorful sunset. So those are my photos. I mean, you know, it's just fun to share, and I really appreciate everybody showing an interest, and it's been a great thing. Keeps people involved. So
really nice shots.
I'm sorry.
This is Dorothy, and I just wanted to say these are really nice shots.
Oh, thank you, Dorothy. Thank you.
Yes, they are. I'm wondering if you might share a little bit about the photo club, and if anybody is watching this and is interested in participating, how they might get involved.
Oh yeah, so anybody can join. I mean, whether you are just, I mean, most people have some sort of a camera when they join, but it's not a prerequisite in any means. So we have a wide range of people that are just getting interested, to people that are just so talented and have been photographers for years. And so it's fun that way. And I have to say that it's just one of the most generous groups of people in terms of sharing knowledge. It's, you know, I think sometimes some of those clubs can be a little competitive, and, you know, not wanting to share their secrets, but it's not that way at all. And I'm on the board, and everybody contributes. It's not one of those, I'm on boards where, you know, one or two people do all the work, and it's not that way. And so before the pandemic, we would meet once a month, And every other month we'd have an education theme or subject that we would cover. And then there was a sharing or competition evening where there would be a theme and people could submit photos. And many people printed their photos and they'd be shown in the CUNY Hall. And then the other ones were just on the projected on the screen. And you know, it's been really fun to do that. But now that we have the pandemic, we're trying to figure out a way to keep that going, and we have through the Google Meet. So many people at first, like myself included, had never done that. It was kind of like, oh, I don't know. But I've been really happy that we have this alternative way to come together, and our attendance has been pretty good. Our membership it's $10 a year right now. We lowered the rates because of the change. Normally it's $30, but it's so anybody can join, and there is a website, and you can look at, you know, there's an application and you can learn about it. And there's also a gallery of photos that's available to see some of the work that people have submitted. And it's a really good group. I'm really impressed with the level of talent.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, this is the Bainbridge Island Photo Club website, which is biphotoclub.org. And we really appreciate you coming by to share this today, and for sharing your photos with us all this month.
Well, it's my pleasure. And again, thank you to you and everybody. So,
any other comments?
Yes, this is Richard Herzog. Your work, Diana, is just extraordinary. Thank you very much for sharing it.
Thank you, Richard. It's really nice to hear.
This is beautiful stuff. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're so welcome. My pleasure.
And
each month there'll be somebody else that's sharing their work.